Hey everybody, welcome back to a new episode of the Bet Like No One's Watching podcast. I'm your host, John Sullivan. You may know me as Buffalo66 or know me from my Twitter page, Buffalo Hold'em, or from any of the other podcasts I've been involved with. So it's Sunday and it's a snowstorm day, and I've just had a crazy weekend, and I finally got around to recording. So I took a little break from the football to record this and upload it. Freestyling today. I apparently have lost my distribution network. I don't really know what happened, not sure. So I'm still plugging away. You can always catch my podcasts. I archive everything on my YouTube channel, which is called Buffalo Hold'em. If you search Buffalo Hold'em on YouTube, you'll see all my previous podcasts and screencasts and other stuff that I've done. So you can always find me there, no matter what. I haven't had a podcast in a couple of weeks. I've been on a bit of a hiatus. I had a hospital visit and some tests and a procedure. We have a sick pet in the house, so I'm watching that. Life happens, and it happens to all of us. I hope everybody that's listening, I hope you're doing well with whatever's going on in your life. And let's get right to it. As you know, this is a sports betting and fantasy lifestyle podcast, is what I like to call it. And I just talk about things related to that are important to me and my perspective on those topics. So let's get to it. I'm going to start with the CFL playoffs. So we got the semifinals today, and next Sunday is the Grey Cup, their championship game. And my November has not been stellar. I think I'm 1-2-1 or something like that. But I have another winning season in the books for CFL. That's 4 in a row. 3 games left to make some more bankroll. I had 2 plays for Sunday semifinals, or the conference finals, division finals they call them. And I think they both came in or are coming in at the moment. So that's good. I believe I was 25-15 or something along those lines, with a couple of pushes going into today. So very, very pleased with the way CFL is shaped up this year. I'll certainly have a play on the Grey Cup next week. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Calgary and Ottawa, and they've been very competitive in their 2 games this year, so I'm looking forward to that. Talk more about that in the future. Also, NFL, it's NFL Sunday, and NFL is moving right along. We're in the second half of the season. I'm actually 2 games over 500 going into Week 11. I'm not sure if that includes that. I don't think that includes the Thursday game. I'm slightly up on the year. I finally got around to updating my NFL records. I fell a couple months behind in my record keeping around the holidays last year, around Christmas. So I had to go through my timeline and go back and update the records to the current day. So I'll be posting my NFL records next week. But I am, for the season, I'm a couple games over 500, a unit or so, a unit and change up. Had 3 plays locked in for this Sunday, Week 11, that I actually played twice because the lines moved in my favor. Some people, they bet, I'm a big proponent of not betting the farm, proverbially, as they say. And I usually bet 1 unit on every wager, but sometimes I go 2 units. Some people bet more based on their confidence in the play. If I like a number and it gets better, I sometimes take an extra unit on it, but I never go deeper than that. I don't think I ever have really done that. I can't remember in recent memory, maybe in my earlier days of wagering. But I do have 2 units on each of those games, so we'll see how that all shakes out. And that's about it for NFL at the moment. Things are, looking okay. Moving on to my NHL wagering experiment. It is in the black, finally, since my last podcast. I started out 0-10 on the fives, the totals over and under 5 goals. But if you add both the 5.5 over-unders and the 5 over-unders together, I am back in the black, and lower scoring games are starting to become more prevalent. There were a lot of goalie injuries early in the season. I think the goaltending is not deep in the league, but as the grind of the season wears on and players get injured and lineups they have to call up, AHL players, the Sabres are a great example of that. Half of their team is a minor league team. So some more unders coming in. Getting good odds on those right now. It'll be very interesting to see if or when or how the bookmakers adjust to that. They start giving good odds on the overs. I don't think they will, because I think a lot of people are betting overs. Just human nature-wise, people bet the over more than the under because they don't like to root for a low score. But the bookmakers at some point are going to realize that, the norm is going to be closer to, the odds are going to have to shift to the under, the frequency of how often these games end over 5 and under 5. So we'll see how that goes, but right now it's been very promising. It started out really crappy, and you want that short-term results, and you don't want to give up on it so quickly. But that's just an example of attacking. Taking what the market gives you. I'm not really handicapping the games. I'm looking at previous league-wide data and saying normalized results are such and such. So if the market gives me the right payoff, I'm going to take the wager, and that's all I'm doing, and it's been working pretty well so far. We'll see how that plays out throughout the season. Also, college hoops are here. There's lots of holiday tournaments kicking off the season, and I did play college basketball last year. I've had a lot of success at college basketball, but I struggled tremendously at handicapping the totals with the change to the shot clock. For those of you that don't know, last year it went from 35 to 30 seconds. And I basically kind of gave up on totals last year and went to just handicapping the sides. And this year I'm really concentrating on the totals, and going into this first week or so of the season, I'm a few games under 500, and it's not been impressive at all. Not horrible, but I'm certainly not dominating in any way. There's certainly no shortage of games. I've been looking, for what I think are the best spots. You can see 30 or more games on a card, in a day, especially during a holiday week. On a busy day, you could see 50, 60 games easy. There's 350 Division I basketball teams, and to have 60 games is only 1/3 of them going. So early season games can be tricky. You have you have to kind of figure out. You have coaches playing, teams playing on back-to-back nights a lot. Whether coaches try different things, if teams have fatigue, travel fatigue, or fatigue from playing 2-3 nights in a row. It's a little bit of a I can't just crunch the numbers. You've got to kind of read into a little bit what the coach's planning is for these games. I think some of these coaches use them as scrimmages, especially if they're playing like a round robin tournament and they lose early on, and they're going to end up playing for 5th place in in one of these holiday tournaments, some of the coaches will definitely treat it more like an exhibition game, even though it does count towards their tournament selection resume. So there's a little background into that, but playing totals, whether you're talking about college hoops or any of these other sports, across the different sports has been working out pretty well for me. Now in NHL, it's been, like I said, it's been attacking the market. The scoring tends to pile up around one number, the 5 goals. In NCAA, it's about pace and points per possession. It's not necessarily about game management, but it's certain in a game where a team's going to fight tooth and nail, like a conference tournament. They're not going to give up to the last 10 seconds of the game. In one of these holiday tournaments, a team can throw in the towel with 7 minutes left and just play their scrubs. So there's a little bit going on there, but really it's more about these two teams going to play up tempo. Are there going to be a lot of fouls called? What kind of free throw shooters are they? That's how you get your over under, your guideline for what you're looking for. Even in NFL and CFL, betting totals really allow for forgiveness, for a crushing turnover that might happen, or other in-game variants. So, like, Jay Cutler's my favorite example. Smoking Jay, he'll either light it up and throw 3 touchdowns, or he'll throw a pick 6. But I always like to play the overs when he's playing, because if the number's attractive, just because that's going to contribute to the scoring. Not, as far as him covering, it's a much tougher guess, in my opinion, most times, whether the team's going to cover as opposed to whether the total is going to be over or under. If I think the line is accurate, the odds have to be really good for me to want to take the game. But regardless of, even though totals, are not necessarily handicapping wagers, or not as strong of a handicapping wager, they're still bad beats and they're still miracle covers. There's no question about it. I've had, an over and the game goes to double overtime and they hit a 3 at the buzzer to make it go over. That's happened to me, and vice versa. I had a couple of CFL games this year where 28 points, I had the under, and 28 points were scored in the last 3 minutes of the game, and it went over. So, and that's without overtime. So it goes both ways. That's just the nature of the beast. So it's, but I think that totals are a little more forgiving on, games that turn on a single play. I guess that's the point I'm trying to make here. Now, if you've listened to my podcast before, you know that I've been trying to specialize my wagering, and I had been planning to bet Aussie football this spring after the NFL season, but I actually am thinking about switching to soccer totals, or maybe Major League Baseball totals, depending how I feel. After the Super Bowl, after the NFL season's over, we'll see where I'm at. I've done a little research on Australian rules football, and it's I think it's fun to watch. I still need to learn a lot more about it as far as handicapping goes. But soccer may be a little more up my alley as far as understanding the game flow and the totals. You've got MLS, UEFA, and English Premier. You've pretty much got year-round totals available, assuming you can find value. It's a whole nother part of it, is finding the value in the lines. So I'm just going to have to crunch some data, some previous seasons of those sports, and see what I come up with, and see if I can't pull out some interesting new experiments to attack. So that's it as far as my current wagering. That's where I'm at with everything. So I want to take a minute to talk about daily fantasy sports. And of course, the big news this week is that DraftKings and FanDuel merger has finally been announced. This has been expected to happen for a long time. I feel like I have some friends in the media, and one of them is connected to an investor in one of these companies, and my understanding is that the investors pretty much have forced this merger to happen, and future funding for these companies likely hinges on this merger happening and going through. Obviously no major changes until probably next football season. But these guys, these rivals, will operate on one platform eventually. 20% rake is going to become a reality for GPPs for sure. I'm not sure about head-to-heads, but I remember back in the early days when when FanDuel first came onto the scene, and one of their competitors was a company called Snapdraft, which at one point was actually owned by NBC Interactive, and they charged a 20% rake, just like it's $10 to win 9 and FanDuel head-to-head. They charge $10 to win 8 in a head-to-head. And all of their contests were flat across the board raked at 20%. And everybody said back then, oh, it's unsustainable. It's unsustainable. You can't win long-term at 20% rake. And it'd be interesting to see all the DFS apologists come out and say, oh, it's no big deal, it's no big deal. 20% rake is no big deal. To me, it's really the beginning of the end for most players. Only the hardcore quants and the algorithm players and the super casual GPP dollar and a dream players are going to keep playing at that level of rake. And these companies are all in on this mass multi-entry salary cap model, which I've expressed my disgust that they refuse to branch out and innovate, and I think that's really what's killing them, is not offering other types of games. And they've made that decision, and that's their business. They can run it how they want, but I think they do it at their own peril. I don't know what their end game here is. I really think that the founders of these sites really just want them to go public, or they want the new company to go public so they can get their payday. And then whether the companies go under or not in the future, they can get out, or whether it ends up being acquired by a big ass entity like ESPN or something else. Who knows? Interesting story. Be interesting to see how it all plays out, but there's so many other ways you can play fantasy sports, just like there's several different ways to play poker. It's not just Texas Hold'em. There's a lot of different ways to play poker. There's a lot of different ways to play fantasy sports, and they're leaving money on the table by forcing this format down everybody's throat, in my opinion. So anyway, I can only hope that sports betting will come into new states and take the revenue away from that sinking ship. I think there's some PASPA challenges going on. There's a good chance Supreme Court might hear the Christie cases in their current session, and a lot of things could happen, but sports betting expanding would be tremendous for me personally, and I think it would show that people would prefer that to daily fantasy sports. I don't think daily fantasy sports is ever going to go away. I just think that it's grown as big as it's going to grow. I really do. There's got to be a better way to play this game, and it just hasn't happened. So, well, I'll get off my soapbox. That's about all I'm gonna talk about today. I hope you're enjoying the football, and if you're in the snowstorm like I am, you are keeping warm and drinking your favorite beverage of choice, and enjoy your football. Remember, if you have any questions or comments, you can hit me up on my Twitter page. That's at Buffalo Hold'em. And if you visit that page, you'll also find all my picks, and I post my betting records at the end of every month. I go back, I have about 4 years worth of records, so you can check those out. And of course, as I said earlier, I archive all my podcasts, etc., on my YouTube channel, also called Buffalo Hold'em. So glad to be back on YouTube. If I can expand to other formats, I'll find the way and let you know. But thanks for tuning in, and until next time, bet like no one's watching. Take care.